Welcome back to our weekly episode of Breakfast of Champions podcast, the premier podcast about coffee, games, and life. You've got 8 things. What is this?
Episode 34.
38? 34? Oh, that was a 3 and a 4. I thought I was like, is it episode 34? Holy cow.
I know.
This just keeps going on, and we are now my age. I know you talked about that the other day. Like, we were at your age in terms of episode numbers.
That's right.
We're now my age and KB's age.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to the. We should apply for our senior citizens discounts.
AARP.
ASAP. Yeah,
I applied
get
for
our ARP
something the other
cards.
day. I had to renew something, and it said, "Are you senior citizen?" I'm like, "How are they going to know?"
I mean,
They're not gonna
security
know.
numbers.
Yeah,
driver's
they didn't
license.
ask for any of that. It's the dog licenses. How are they going to know I'm a senior citizen or not?
Wait, you need a license to own a dog?
Yeah, in Pennsylvania, you have to have an annual dog license to own a dog, or you'll get fined heavily.
Since
or like
when?
if my dog attacks somebody, they'll first thing they'll say is, "Where's the dog license?" Like you can have your dog taken away from you.
Is this new?
This has always been a thing since I've had a dog. Some
How
people
long
just
have you
don't
had a
do
dog?
it. Since I was a kid,
Oh my god.
some people just don't do it. Like
But that's insane to me. Like,
It's-
what? Okay. Well, the more you
gotta have a
know.
dog license in PA, man.
I done got learned today.
You got to register your pets here in Victoria, at least. Like, you got to register
the
your
same
cats.
thing.
Like, it's the same deal. Like, we don't.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, that makes sense. That partly makes sense, the pet registry, but at the same time, it's like Kentucky is like the Wild West. Like, I don't care. Go buy a peacock. You can own
Well,
that.
yeah,
like,
it's a
you want a
land
lion,
full of
just put it in
Bojans,
your
man.
backyard. It's totally fine. Bojans.
Tiger King.
The Bojans.
Hey, Tiger King's running for president in 2024. He said he's gonna submit a thing. He's gonna do it.
Tiger King? Like the actual
Yeah.
dude from the
The
show?
guy, the Tiger King. He's gonna give you free tigers for everybody and chicken and
Is he
everything.
still in jail, though?
Legally can, wasn't he? Yeah, like, isn't he in the prisons?
I mean, it's a free for all anymore. You know what I mean?
I've not even
You know,
seen
it
that
is
show.
America Land. Welcome to America Land.
Welcome
I
to
haven't either,
America
but my
Land.
wife went on a huge like Tiger King kick, like
Well,
for
dude, I
back
did.
during the COVID.
It was good. It was good. It was real good.
Oh, holy cow! But no, like that's crazy. I've got 2 dogs, never registered them. Don't have my license to drive those animals, so you know
Well.
it is what it is. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
But no, episode 34. We got a big episode planned today. We're going to be talking a little bit about video game remakes and all that other jazz. And are they good? Are they bad for the video game industry? Blah blah blah. You know the deal. But before we get into that, we got a couple of other things that we want to do. We've got. I want to plug the Patreon stuff because we have some big plans this week. Oh, wrong screen. Close enough.
Hey,
Want to plug the Patreon screen and thank these supporters. Thank you guys so much for continuing your support for our show. Your support means so much to us. It helps us be able to keep the lights on in this place for real, for real. Remember, there are 3 tiers, more content, more often. It's on like Patreon over at patreon.com/Breakfast of Champions. And if you choose to support the show in a more monetary way by subbing directly here, you get those emotes. It's a good time.
That's
It's
right.
a good time.
right.
But a couple of other teases for you guys surrounding the Patreon stuff. The first tease is that we are filming a midnight snack this week.
Finally.
It will be up within the next couple of weeks. I apologize that we haven't had
It'll
some
be up
Patreon content
this week.
up, but-
It will be up Thursday morning. That's when it will be up.
Sick. It is the KB origin story. So if you
Oh,
guys
boy.
want to hear it, you need to go sub over at the Patreon. And then also the evening of March 25th, for those of you that are Patreons, we are going to do a screening of the original Super Mario Bros. Movie. The Jankel cut for you guys. If you guys want to come and hang with us, it will be in the Patreon exclusive channel over on the BOC Discord.
What is the Jankel cut?
It is a special cut of the movie that has deleted scenes and cutting room floor stuff that has been restructured and included in that film to provide extra context and a more expanded experience with that movie. So it's going to be cool.
the definitive edition.
20 minutes of additional scenes. Interesting. Very interesting.
I'm also excited because after that, I think on the 7th, I'm going to see the Mario movie. So like that following weekend, I'll be seeing the Mario movie. 10
Going on
a.m.
the
baby.
4th. Going on the
Oh yeah,
4th.
you're crazy. I'll wait till the weekend to see it.
I'm going by myself on the 4th, and then the 5th, I'm taking the boys.
I think that I've applied for like 14 days off at the beginning of of April. Amber has something planned. I don't know what it is. I've just been told to request time off. I just realized that time off period, the Mario movie comes out, so like we can probably likely go like straight away, but that'll be my son's first experience at a movie theater, so we'll see how we go.
Thought it was a vacation. I heard you guys were going on vacation somewhere.
I know nothing. I know nothing.
Well, spoilers. My bad.
Nothing's been booked anyway, as far as I know, so it could change.
Way to go.
I mean, my leave request has not even been approved.
Well, I mean, if you just don't show up, what are they going to do?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the tea. So I started as a casual employee. I was working 3 days a week. And then I upgraded to full time at the beginning of December. But I think something weird happened with the accounting. So I currently have like 320 hours of leave for the year.
Hell yeah. Take it all now.
But I've accumulated that over like 3 or 4 months, which is definitely an error. So
just love to work, don't you?
Something like that.
The giggle.
You know what else?
I love it, dude.
You know what else I love?
What do you love?
I love when we get voicemails, because it's been a little while since we've had a voicemail.
Dude, that's one of my favorite things too.
So let's go ahead.
Who is it from? Tell me.
We're gonna load this one in.
Hello. My name is Mr. Sexy Breakfast. I am 100% not a machine overlord. Anyway, back to human topics. I would like to ask the Breakfast of Champions Petcast a question. If you could revive any dormant gaming series, what would it be? I, for one, being a human, would like to see the Sega classic Lystar to be revived. He has sexy long arms, like my human arms. Anyway, I look forward to hearing your answer. I look forward to conquering your human race soon. I mean, thank you for answering me.
Okay, so if you could, this is the picture that came with it.
Is this a video? Oh my god!
AI has gone too far.
Oh man! Oh man!
If you could revive
funny.
any beloved video game series, what would it be? But there was also another question in here that I couldn't hear. So we'll start with that one, then I'll scan through it. So what rapid fire, what beloved video game series would you revive?
I got one.
I got a good one too.
Give me a continuation of the Game Boy Mario Land games. Like with the weird worlds and the weird enemies and all that, give me that. Give me a short little Mario Land, like, 5 game.
Yep.
Okay, so my own actual personal favorite character from the Mario stuff, now that you've said that, like, it really does strike me as very appropriate. I want a revival of the Wario Land series, because we haven't had Wario do a platforming game. What I really have always wanted is a Wario Bros video game where it's Wario and Waluigi together.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
But I don't think I'm ever going to get that. But I don't want it in the style of Wario Land 2, 3, 4, because those got to Metroidvania. They weren't like the original Wario Land, which is Super Mario Land 3. And that's what I would like, is like a return to form there. The Virtual Boy one was about as close as they got, and then they swapped. I want that to be revived, but give me Wario Bros.
Wario Bros, eh?
You know what I want back? And I don't know if it's ever going to come back. There was rumors of it coming back when Smash Brothers was doing their DLC stuff. This is what I want back right here.
Banjo-Kazooie.
I could see that.
It could happen.
I love Banjo. And the funny thing is that like I've played Banjo-Kazooie, like I've beat that, like I bought that, and I want to play that and stream it on 64. Banjo-Tooie, I've really not played. I didn't even remember it coming out when I was a kid. So that if I want a brand new Banjo game, I suppose Tooie would be the game for me to play, because I've barely played it. And then there was Nuts and Bolts that came out in 07. And I was so hyped for that. Then I realized, oh my God, it's just like a glorified like Lego game. So that was very disappointing. There was supposed to be a Banjo 3 coming out on GameCube, but then Rare had the whole Microsoft merger thing. Microsoft bought them, and then they barely used the IP since. And then you've had the miscellaneous like Banjo merch, and then Banjo was in Smash Brothers, and we've got the amiibo and stuff. That's it. But like that needs to come back 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like that. Or like Conquer. Oh, those are good.
Yeah.
You know,
We just got rated, by
We
the
did.
way.
We did.
for the live chat. So apologies, audio listeners and people who are listening through other platforms. But welcome in, Raiders. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging with us on Breakfast of Champions.
We love it. We love it. Just as a whole, I would love to see Rare come back. Like, instead of like making Sea of Thieves, like that's just dumb. Like, come on.
like Sea of Thieves is good, but if that's all that they're working on, I mean, you like that. Well, so I've heard, and this might, you might be onto something with bringing back Banjo. I've heard Rare is passing on Sea of Thieves to another dev within like Microsoft's lineup of developers to kind of manage it, because now the groundwork has been done, the game's been refined so many times. Now it's just managing that live service, and maybe Rare's gonna. I mean, maybe we'll see more Rare stuff.
It's a different Rare though. Like the core team is working at Playtonic. And that's where Ukulele came from. And like, I backed that Kickstarter and everything. Like, Ukulele was kind of like,
Did you play the Impossible Lair?
Yeah, that was really good. I liked that.
Yeah, that one is good. The original one, not my jam. Are they the same people that did the Super Lucky's Tale too? I can't remember. Who did that? Or was that Rare?
No, that wasn't Rare.
Yeah, that wasn't Rare.
Somebody else did
it.
Somebody else did Super Lucky's Tale, but that was a good game as well. That was a really good game.
Super Lucky's Tale was developed by Playful Studios, not Playtonic.
Yes.
That was where I messed it up. So,
well, guess what, KB? I've got you teed up for this one. I know you love to talk about stuff like this, so let's go ahead and flick on over to our Newsbyte.
So you guys know that I'm big on preserving video games, as in, there's myself and Nerdwire have analog pockets, and what's one thing that we love doing there? We love playing the full Game Boy to Super Nintendo to Sega, what have you, libraries, and without having all of that on the internet or by anybody kind of hosting those things, they would be lost to time.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, Nintendo is starting to do that with a lot of their other stuff. And our headline today to kick off the Newsbyte is Nintendo's approach to game preservation is actively destructive, says Charity. The Video Game History Foundation urged Nintendo and other ESA members to rethink their position on the issue. A nonprofit video game preservation organization has openly criticized Nintendo's approach to its own legacy titles. The Video Game History Foundation, which relies on donations to help it advocate for and preserve the history of video games, issued a public statement following the news that the 3DS and Wii U virtual shop fronts will be closing next year, which is going to be in like a week and a couple days?
Yeah.
Yep. March 27th is the deadline.
And whilst the organization says it understands the business reality of the decision, it expressed disappointment in how Nintendo appears to be actively ignoring fans that want to play these games in the future. As a paying member of the Entertainment Software Association, Nintendo actively funds lobbying that prevents even libraries from being able to provide legal access to these games, says the foundation.
Wow.
Back in 2018, the ESA actively opposed efforts from another nonprofit organization, the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment, to preserve abandoned online games. Despite the museum's nonprofit status, the ESA said its work could create substantial market harm. There's a lot more here, but I'm going to leave it at that, because that phrase right there, you could cause or create substantial market harm. To me, that means that they would rather you forget about Super Mario Land until they want you to bring it to their paid service like they just did.
That's right.
And to me, that's not right. Like, I get it. Like, they're making it a way that you can play it legally, but without that, we wouldn't have it. It would just be on whatever Chad has the game on his shelf trying to sell it for 20 grand. You know what I mean? Like, the way the retro market is and the way that things are shifting, I implore and encourage more people to do emulation within legal means. If it's anything older or retro, being PlayStation 2 and under, even PS3 and Vita at this point, because now Vita stuff is becoming, gone to time. Find these games, download them, and keep them and play them however you can, because you won't be able to anymore. And it's legit a shame. It's very, very sad to see that in a company that focuses on family entertainment and wants people to have all access to their stuff. In reality, they really don't. They want you to have access to the new stuff and the little stuff they're drip feeding you. That's about it. And that's where I stand on it, man. If you can emulate. If you can get the games you want to play and you want to have forever, get them, because the reality is cartridges, those are going to fail eventually. The components are going to rot away. Disc rot's a real thing. I've had it happen with CDs that I've had since high school. So like we won't be able to. Having physical is cool for your shelf and makes it look cool, but in the end of the day, you're almost going to be forced, if you want to play that stuff, to have it digitally or some sort of a copy digitally.
There are a couple of extra pieces here that I think are important to consider too. Like the first thing is like, yes, it's the drip feed, but I will tell you guys, like the 3DS is the last bastion for you guys to play Pokemon games.
Yep. That's right.
You cannot currently on any current gen console that legally play Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Trading Card Game, Pokemon Emerald, Pokemon, you name it. That's the last bastion of you being able to play it. The flip side of this is, and KB talks a little bit about finding those games and playing them. There are legal means that you can rip those ROMs. There's things like the GB operator. If you wanted to be able to rip those ROMs, you would be able to rip those ROMs, and it is legal for you to do so. The GB operator is a good thing. There's also the Joey box. That is another thing. I think that's what it's called, the Joey. Which is a ROM ripper. But there are a lot of options that are out there for you to be able to do it. And it's not trying to create like this, manufactured hype machine, drama machine that's like, oh, Nintendo doesn't want you to play video games. That's not quite what I think any one of us believe. Otherwise, we would probably not continue to support Nintendo in any way. But the thing that is the reality of it is that Nintendo wants to control that market, and unfortunately, they see an opportunity to make a whole lot more money rather than providing it to you for $4.99 directly through the eShop to be able to download.
That's the lesson they learned with the Wii. Like the Wii was really great for preservationist mentality, because we could go buy those games. Like even getting TurboGrafx games was really cool, and I remember playing. What was it? It was like the Castlevania Rondo of Blood, like through the Japanese version, because that's the better version. I think it was like I can't remember what specifically that was, but I was able to play that and just buy that. So I have that sitting on my Wii or my Wii U. They don't have that mentality anymore, because they would rather you sign up for a subscription service and then drip feed you those things. And if you wanted to get like Trip World, for example, that's a game you have to pay a lot of money for. Like I saw somebody within Australia, they had a copy of it sealed, graded for $25,000. And this is the thing. This is like all the inflation stuff comes into play. Like we talked about that a lot in our third episode with Chris from Microgame, like all that stuff. This is just the unfortunate reality of a company that wants to control the way that you play their software and the software that they've licensed and all that stuff. Just the way it is. It's a shame,
because that money doesn't go to the original dev team. No, you know what I mean? And like now you're having, and I know this from looking for some Pokemon games. There's more fakes out there and people selling repros, which while it sucks, it's almost a viable way now for you to play that stuff. I wouldn't want to have it in my collection, but if that's the only way I can have it, I'll do it. You know,
there was a reason I've invested in things like the EverDrive or the Easy Flash Omega. It is to be able to play on original hardware the games that have been created for that hardware if they are unobtainable from any kind of legal standard. And I'm with you. Like that is the thing. You know, one of the biggest pieces here is that, and I think it's the thing that's often missed. Whenever we talk about emulation, whenever we talk about ROMs, whenever we talk about the legality of it, and whether or not it's a gray zone, the biggest problem that Nintendo has is that they are actively fighting against the video games historical foundation. who want to provide legal means for people to be able to try
Yes,
out this history.
that's right.
The current only way you can do that at any of these foundations that have preserved this is to book a flight, go to that place, or drive to that place, or book a train or boat. Go to that place and play it. And what they want to consider here is getting an opportunity for people to not have to travel to experience this history. And then as an aside here, as an aside of all of this, they are continuing to actively stop you from being able to play that history just in general, from shutting down all of these shops that could continue to exist, because I can't imagine it takes a lot of server space to host an online eShop.
No, I mean, all these ROMs and stuff are really low file size. So I just think it like morally, I just think it's wrong. And you know, there's the whole, I don't want to emulate. I mean, this is me personally. Like, this is why I'd rather go buy things. I mean, look at me. Imagine if me getting into N64 collecting now. Imagine getting hosed by this thing right here, Paper Mario. ESRBE, but it's got the EUR code. So that's like, what is that?
Yeah.
That's a repro right there. That's somebody wants 260 Australian dollars for a loose cartridge. So these are people are like are going to get scammed over this stuff. There's plenty of fakes on the Pokemon. Yes, you just get everything on a little mini SD
micro
card.
SD card and throw it in.
Yo, I mean, Facebook Marketplace, I've been seeing, like behind me, Pokemon Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire. I see fakes all the time. I can tell just by the sticker and the way the back of the board looks. But people are selling them cheap. You know,
the sad reality is, unless you have a humidity controlled room, and when you handle your gloves or booklets or whatever you have with white gloves, your physical collection, however vast or small it is, will deteriorate and will be utter useless dust that you can't use. And you trying to do, I'm going to do physical only, 20 years, you'll try to play that and you won't have it. It's gone.
Dude.
Then what? And if you can't download it, then what do you do? You know what I mean?
This copy right here of Super Castlevania 4, perfect. I love this game. There was a point in time where I could play it, but now when I play it, all like a lot of the character effects and the enemies are just blocks. So I don't know if there's something wrong with the cartridge. Like, I've taken it apart, I've looked at the board, it looks fine. But all of a sudden, this game now is unplayable. You know, it's unfortunate.
That's the unfortunate thing. And I mean, like, I love my physical games. I love my physical collection, but I know the hard truth that eventually that stuff's not going to be worth anything. It's just going to be pieces of plastic and silicone that sits on my shelf because I can't use it because the chip's degraded.
Yep.
Yep, that's right.
I'm with you. Yeah, you know, I know this isn't the structure of what we had for the show, but I saw Zero, I believe, talking about the Wii U, and this feels like a good jumping in point into that topic as well, Eric.
Sure is. So the Wii U, there's been some stuff coming out about the Wii U lately that essentially they're bricking, and it comes as a result of a lot of Wii U's. I think it's launch edition Wii U's or something close to launch. Essentially just from age not being used. I think it's the NAND controller, the storage controller, or something to do with how the Wii U stores its OS, essentially corrupts after not being used. I actually found out about this through our friend Graham from D Review Ting. He posted a video, one half of D Review Ting with 66JD. He posted a video talking about an article, and really the only way to preserve that would be essentially doing like a backup and all that stuff. But somebody out on Twitter has come out with a fix here to sort out any issues that you might be having with your Wii U. Essentially, it comes out to having something like uploaded on an SD card. So yeah, an error has occurred. Essentially, it's coming up with an error code 160-0101, and this dude has found a way to bypass all that and get the Wii U into recovery mode and essentially reflash it a little bit, or do like a sysinfo dump. So there's some software stuff happening behind the scenes, but like, this is another reason why, you know what, I would just rather play the original Splatoon or the original Wii U games on my Steam Deck, because one, it can handle that, and two, there's no real risk of, you know, of my Wii U bricking on, like if I'm just emulating it. And I love the Wii U. I have a Wii U, and I likely probably won't actively collect for Wii U. But I would probably recommend you would. That would be a console that I think would be the next Dreamcast in terms of collecting. But yeah, essentially it gets a system error due to not being turned on. And nobody would have seen this coming. I mean, of course, nobody's turned on their Wii U's in years because everybody's got Switches. So
I just did for the first time this past week, so I was real worried.
it's such a strange thing, especially to happen to a Nintendo console, nonetheless.
Yep. Mm-hmm. There are a couple of pieces on that too. Like a lot of people thought this was limited to the Samsung memory chip that they have inside of it. There were actually two manufacturers for the memory chip that is inside the Wii U, Toshiba and Samsung. It is happening to both. A lot of people thought maybe it was only launches. It is late system stuff, but essentially it's a very easy fix. Just put this boot syslog on here. My apologies, not system log. Just put this boot program directly onto an SD card, plug that in. It boots it right up and clears that memory loss, but it will reformat that system the way it currently is. So that being said, allows you to keep using it, but I mean, it's just another example of what kind of quality you're going to have and facing another challenge for games preservation.
I mean, it's funny it happened on a Wii because a lot of game consoles have time bombs in them. And are you guys familiar with time bombs?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So like they have a watch battery in there, a pretty beefy watch battery that keeps track of your not like in a video game cartridge that would keep track of your saves. That would power your memory. This powers the system memory per se, where it knows what date this to do for checks and all its other stuff. Well, those are going to be failing too, and there's going to be a lot of consoles that just won't work. That they'll turn on, they'll boot, but they will have issues with, connecting to the internet if it's something that you had on, that needs to play online or this, that, and the other. And it's real unfortunate to see because not a lot of people know about that stuff. Like I know about it, Eric, you know about it. So if we had a console that had that, we'd be like, hey, we'll just take it apart and strip it and put a new battery in. It's fine. No big deal. But the average user, everyday gamer is going to be like, oh no, my PS3 Slim isn't working anymore. Why? Well, why can't I do this?
This is the thing. Like the fan community is really great at supporting other consoles. Like if we look at the Dreamcast was really huge back in the day for online stuff through Phantasy Star. I mean, you had the keyboard and all that stuff, and everybody loved to play Phantasy Star online. It's not a service that's supported anymore, but now people have figured out a way to do that. So thankfully, people who are smart enough have figured out a way to sort out the Wii U. So there will always be fixes, but they're just third-party fixes. And Zero asks in the chat, has Nintendo made a statement about it? No, and they probably won't because the eShop is phasing out here in 8 days where I am right now. They don't care. It's done. It's dead weight. It's paperweight. They have no reason to acknowledge the Wii U exists. They quickly swept it under the rug because it just wasn't a commercial success. So there you go.
Yep. The only thing that they've posted is what that error code means. That is it. And it doesn't. I mean, they in the past when older systems have continued to fail or die, they haven't provided any kind of repair or anything like that. No. It's not covered underneath any kind of 1 year limited warranty that you would have because unfortunately they haven't been in production for the past 4 years. So as it stands, if you are a Wii U owner, it's time for you to take it into your own hands to repair it or give up on it and flock to emulation.
If it was a launch system 10 years ago, there's the 10-year systems, so they don't care. Anyway.
Well, welcome to being a Vita owner. That's all I got to say.
Exactly.
Welcome to owning a PlayStation Vita.
One thing you can still buy on the Wii U, though, if your Wii U is working, Super Mario 64.
That's right.
You can still buy that through that eShop. And with that being said, there's been a new world record get set in Super Mario 64. This comes to us from Games Radar. And what the runner has said here is it's so ridiculous. He wonders if anyone is going to try to beat his record as it currently stands. We're going to let that play in the background because it is so fast. It is so fast. It takes no time to get through. But this run that's being featured here, this has been done by a runner named Suigi. I assume that's how it's pronounced. But He completed a 1-star run in less than 7 minutes, making them the first person in the world to do so, and players are left wondering whether anyone will bother trying to do any better. With Super Mario 64 now being almost 3 decades old, my dogs are going nuts, but to this day, players are still competing to see who can reach the credits the fastest. Recent popular Mario 64 speedrunner Suigi set a new world record with a 1-star run that took them just 6 minutes, 58 seconds, and 35 milliseconds. Previous record was 7 minutes and 3 seconds, which Suigi also held. They posted it on YouTube. A lot of fans are overjoyed at the result. But over on the speedrun subreddit, user Splax77 says, absolutely insane run. It's not unbeatable, but sub 7 was the final minute barrier. So this is going to kill any motivation to run the category. And another user, I'm way too puny, writes, it's pretty close to unbeatable, to be honest, especially for anyone besides Suigi.
This
They're not
is
the only ones
nuts.
that feel. Yes.
With the three of us having played this, what are your thoughts on it, man? Like,
I'm floored. Like I've watched. There's a really great YouTube channel that does deep dives into speedruns and stuff. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the history of Super Mario 64 speedrunning, the history of Super Mario Brothers Wii speedrunning, all that stuff. And I've really enjoyed, like, you know, watching the trajectory of how somebody sets the world record, or like the Wii Sports, because you can speedrun that. I've really enjoyed watching how people figure out new cuts or new jumps or new whatever, and finding new routes. But there was like a specific minute mark that was pretty much untouchable for Super Mario 64 speedruns. And I'm just like, you know, you have to use the Japanese cartridge in order to do that because the dialogue's is a little bit quicker. So, like, I'm just watching this, and it's just absolutely nuts to see how people can manipulate the game in this way. Like, you know, doing the backwards long jumps and all that stuff. I mean, you guys did that last week. This is just insane. Like, how do people figure this out? Like, clipping through the backgrounds and all that stuff. But I don't know. I'm like floored. My eyes are glued to watching this replay here.
Did you see
That was
that?
a very impressively stationed backwards long jump in the basement lobby, and skipping entirely the MIPS clip. And you can see there he goes into a polygon. Seam to warp directly into the tunnel below, because the game forces him downward as he's going into places he should not be in. And you can also see here he is going to be boarding. I would assume Bowser's sub.
Yeah.
Which that is the much better way to do it. This is his single star that he picks up, of course. So,
Do you think he's
impressive.
using an N64 controller or keyboard?
He
or
may
something?
he may be using something like a Brawler 64, which is a significantly more comfortable controller
it
that's
is.
third party. And it is an accepted controller for those systems. So you are allowed to use that in any kind of speed run, because it doesn't do any kind of manipulation in terms of turbo or anything like that. So
Now,
yes.
in the speedrun community, are there do they have, regulations? Like, do you have to use a certain thing? Do you have to be playing a certain version of a game?
Yes. So a lot of times they will have even emulator restrictions. So for Game Boy speedrunning, which is what I do, Game Boy speedrunning, it requires me to utilize MGBA, because it is the one that is going to be the most closely related to actual clock speeds and different things like that for the Game Boy. In this case, some of the categories they have for Mario 64, they actually have a breakdown between emulation, Japanese versions, and English versions for you to be able to run these, and also Wii U Virtual Console. That being said, this 1-star run, this is one that I haven't really watched a whole lot, but it is very impressive
nuts.
watching this guy just pull some of these movements off. I genuinely cannot believe he did this as fast as he did. And we are coming up on, 2 minutes away from him making it. He gets his key. He's going to exit back out to lobby, so that way he can then set up his backwards long jump to go into the Bowser fight and not have to do any of the upstairs route.
It's just so wild, man. Because this is where I struggled. This is where I struggled trying to do the backwards long jump whenever we did our race, man. And
sets it up in one go there. he is going.
Wow.
It's going to allow him to enter into here, but the way this staircase works is it stops you from being able to continue up. It's an endless loop unless you backwards long jump and hit that colliding spot with enough speed to be able to go past that invisible barrier that they put there.
This
that
is
causes
so
the
nuts. Like I because I hadn't played Mario 64 in like probably 20 years, honestly. And it took me 8 hours to get through the game, doing a 70-star run. And like even the last Bowser stage, I was just constantly falling off and dying and all that stuff. Like I cannot imagine the amount of practice it takes to even get to this point, because like this is a skill right here. Honestly, this is just insane.
the only thing this gentleman does on stream ever.
Yeah,
I mean,
just a
it's
Mario
the only
speedrunner.
thing. That's the way a lot of these people who are pursuing world records are. Is this is the only thing they do. And I mean, you can see he's here at this final boss fight, and we are going to see him throw this Bowser. This is the part that I struggled with.
Oh, man,
he's going to
it's
throw this
so
Bowser
hard.
into these bombs.
He's
3
picked it up
times.
twice.
An instant grab off of the first bomb. An instant
no
grab off of the
way.
second bomb, and then a third grab and throw. So like it is.
Wow, that is insane. And then they're like, okay, so after you've beat Bowser, you have to like clear the dialogue and jump into the star. I've seen somebody almost set a world record, but they missed time to jump. Like, okay, so 6 minutes, 58 seconds, 4 milliseconds. That
Which is 5 seconds faster than his previous world record.
That's crazy.
wow. Well, that's a world record. I can't imagine doing that live on stream. The pressure you must feel.
And that was just this past week.
That's
guys.
insane.
So like
very impressive run.
for somebody who wants to get into it, what would you say is a good starting point for them? If you were to be like, hey, this is cool, I want to do it, and Nerdwire, where do I start? What would you recommend them start with?
The very first trick that I would recommend them start with is going to be Lakitu skip, because that's going to save you close to 40 seconds of dialogue. And then right after that, learning the that downstairs basement backwards long jump off of the staircase that goes down into the dungeon area. So that would be the trick that I would tell people to learn. Screw learning MIPS clip. Screw learning backwards long jump immediately. Learn that lower level backwards long jump, because there's no clipping required to be able to do it. Lobby backwards long jump is so difficult because you have to do 3 clips before you can even do lobby backwards long jump. But that would be what I would say. Hey, learn that. If you want to do this, learn that. And if you don't want to do this, you're probably better off, because it's a life of disappointment.
Fair enough. Now, because our Newsbytes kind of ran on a little bit, what do you say we hit up this Forbes
We should.
article?
Yeah.
We should. I'll make sure to share our friend's hard drive directly with the Discord later, so that you guys too can know what Elon Musk keeps asking Tesla to do.
Yeah.
So Resident Evil 4 remake arrives with almost 30 perfect scores. Haha, look at that.
What the heck? 30 perfect scores?
A 93 for a Metascore. Okay. Now here's where I
Just
think
say you disabled it.
I did.
It'll
It
accept
didn't. I disable.
So-
Fine.
For some reason, IGN gave it a 10 out of 10, a perfect score. IGN, and this is their quote: "The Resident Evil 4 remake is the series' most relentlessly exciting adventure, rebuilt, refined, and realized to the full extent of its enormous potential."
Wow.
The Gamer gave it a 10 out of 10. Washington Post gave it a 4 out of 4, which is a really weird scoring thing, but cool. We'll roll with it. I mean, I'll tell you what, dude. I've never played the original one. I have played the Oculus Quest VR version of this game. So I've played the VR remake of it, and it terrified me to my core. For that to get a 93 on Meta, dude, is nuts. For it to get a 10 out of 10 everywhere is nuts. I mean, I kind of want to get it. Like, I don't know. I kind of want to get it. I've heard some things that the demo feels really good. I've seen some gameplay of the demo. It looks fantastic. I might be able to play that without like the people actually rushing me in my face with a hatchet, or the old lady coughing on you. Like, it's.
Oh, you haven't made it to the part with the clerics then.
Oh, dude, it was to the point where, like, so in the VR version, you have to like load your clip, cock the gun, all that stuff, and somehow if you don't do it right, the gun will jam. and Mike
no
got
way.
jammed, so I threw it at the dude, and I'm just sitting there like, what do I do? And he's still coming at me. It was nuts. So like, I kind of want to see what it's like to play that game all the way without having the things in my face, and it looks really good. Having played the the remake of Resident Evil 2,
That was good.
I really enjoyed that game up until the Mr. X part, and then I said,
God.
"Yep, we beat it. We're done. Game over. We're done. I'll Google the rest. I'll figure it out." But it looks really good. The thing that a lot of people are disappointed in is that there's no chainsaw controller, which I didn't know was a thing.
It was.
That's me. I really wanted like the GameCube style chainsaw controller to be remade and brought back with this, because they had it in a collector's edition that was like a glass wardrobe kind of situation that had the chainsaw sticking out of the front of it. It was so cool. Like, that's the way I really want to play that one. But this is one of the only Resident Evils that, like, for me personally, I can play this one. I played this one back whenever it launched. I played it later on in 2007 when it came out for the Wii. And that was a really good experience as well. I actually really liked that experience a lot more than even playing it on the GameCube or on the PS3. That also being said, this game's just, I mean, they've done that game justice in terms of making it pretty and making it good. But this company has done a really good job with making remakes of their older games. Capcom's doing, I mean, they're on fire with their remakes.
I mean, it looks cool. Like my mistake was I played Resident Evil 2 remake, and then I went straight to, I grabbed the Resident Evil 4 for PS4, and it was really strange going from like normal controls to the classic Resident Evil's tank controls, which was really hard to navigate. So I'd be interested to try this out now that it controls more normally or more modernly. But Resident Evil 3 remake, I couldn't. I think I have it on Steam. But like the idea of being chased the entire game, like you think the Mr. X things in Resident Evil 2 are bad. Like in Resident Evil 3, the entire game is you getting chased. The entire thing is you getting chased. So my anxiety can't handle that. But I like the direction they went in with this one. Like you go to Europe and then you go to save the president's daughter, pretty much.
Where are you guys picking up the game? Because you already know my answer.
Oh yeah, if I get it, it's on deck. 100%.
Cody?
Probably Steam Deck as well. I'd probably play it at my PC more than anything at this point. So I mean, not even Steam Deck. I'd probably play it on my PC to get the full glorious remake version of it that I could possibly get. The best way to play it. No offense, Steam Deck. Steam Deck's good for portability, but
I mean, I'll tell you what, man. Cryo Utilities is actually making a game change and stuff for that little system.
That would require me understanding how to do it or caring enough to learn, and I just don't.
See. Good thing you have a friend that would just walk you through it, so you could just aimlessly push buttons. I mean, it's easy peasy.
Yeah,
that's true. Too bad I don't have any friends. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You gotta have friends to do that.
Oh jeez. Oh man, but this is honestly like a perfect segue into the topic. So
let's go ahead and kick that off.
Do it.
This is going to be a good one. I can't wait to discuss this. Now, for today's topic, we've discussed a topic similar to this in our pre-Nerdwire days, but I think with Resident Evil 4 coming out as a remake, it begs the question again: are remakes good for the industry? Is it possibly a cash grab at our nostalgia, which is very possible, or are they truly iterative on the medium they originally established, meaning a one-to-one remake? Or which ones do you feel that were done with care and creativity, and which ones were just done poorly executed money schemes? So I would say straight up, one that was done really well, that's a recent one, was Crisis Core, because it's a one-to-one remake. They didn't add any additional stuff, unfortunately, because for those diehard Final Fantasy VII fans like me who wanted some extra content to tie it into the remake stuff, that would have been cool, but didn't happen. What they did do was streamline the battle system a little bit more. It was a little bit easier to swallow. The They did change the way that Zach plays a little bit. He has like a heavy mode, similar to how Cloud has 2 different attack modes in the remake. That was really great. And that's just taking a great game and just adding a little bit of extra sugar on top to make it 2023-ish, 2023able. And I assume that they've done the same thing with Resident Evil 4. So I think these are true one-to-one remakes with modern additions that make it easily accessible and better than the original ones. What do you guys think?
I would agree. Okay, I'll step in. So to kind of answer a couple of those questions there, do I think they're good or bad for the video game industry? I think I need to answer some of those other questions first. At the end of the day, I do 100% believe that remakes are cash grabs at nostalgia.
Yeah,
it is the smartest thing for any business to do, is to take something that people love already and put it out there as another opportunity for someone to be able to purchase it. I mean, you take Metroid Prime Remastered in consideration recently. I mean, they did a lot the same thing. They added some of that 2023 flair and polish to it, made it a lot better with the twin stick incorporation into that game. So that way you can control Samus a little bit better rather than relying on holding the R and then looking around to be able to use your camera properly. Truly iterative. I think when I think about is this something that is going to iterate on something that was already good, like Metroid Prime Remastered? I mean, we've had some really bad stinkers that are nearly one-to-one remakes that still have some of that like really bad game polish that they had in the past. I mean, you take probably one of my prime examples is going to be my prime example, I think, would be for a one-to-one remake would be the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters.
Yeah,
Those were poorly executed remasters, dropped terribly and done just bad. And I wouldn't even call those remasters remakes, what have you. They were just dropped and left to rot and die. But I think if I were to answer, are they good or bad for the video games industry? I would argue they're actively bad. I would argue they're actively bad for the video games industry. In the same sense that I think, as much as I love Marvel movies and will continue to go watch Marvel movies, I think Marvel movies are bad for the films industry. I think when you're adapting properties that are already pre-existing, and it doesn't allow you to innovate. There's a reason that movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once just won at the Oscars. Got a whole lot of nominations, took home a lot of awards, and that's because it was innovative. It was a new filming experience. Marvel didn't give that nod,
Let me ask you this quickly before KB has his say. So let's look at a game like Crisis Core. That game is stranded on PSP. I personally believe not only did they bring that up to standard here because they want people to access the game, but I feel like it is a little bit of a cash grab too, because they probably need to fund development of the next game. So they're like, what can we quickly do to make, a couple hundreds of millions of dollars? So how do you feel about games that are stuck on an island, essentially?
I think for the sake of preservation, that helps it. We talked a lot in the Newsbyte about games preservation, and you're right. Like Crisis Core is stuck on the PSP. A lot of those old Final Fantasy games, I wouldn't argue, are stuck anywhere. I mean, you can download most all of them on Steam. You can download most all of them on your phones. Like, I don't think they're stuck anywhere. It's when necessary evils come in, and it's like, hey, do I need to do this to be able to bring this here? And I think when they're doing it from that perspective, I think that changes a little bit of my answer, just a tad. But when you have it accessible, and you're still remaking it, take The Last of Us, for example. Take Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, those are one generation old. We're getting remakes of those games, remasters of those games. Those play fine on your PlayStations. Like, it's you don't have to do that, and those are very obvious cash grabs.
Yes, I agree.
Very obvious cash grabs.
Anyway,
how
KB.
dare you not let me have all my frames?
KB, what are your thoughts?
I hope you're all sitting down, because I agree with Nerdwire on this. I think because listen, I see your pixel remasters, and I one up you with the Grand Theft Auto trilogy remake remaster. That was hot. Yep. That was hot garbage to the point where they've just abandoned all hope on it. They quit updating it. They quit optimizing it. They said nope, we're done. And to further put the kibosh on that series, they then DMCA'd everybody who did mods to make that game run on whatever they were doing. Like, you can still get them for PC, but you have to look for them now. They weren't as accessible because Rockstar cried and said, "How dare you not like what we did?" I mean, the fact of the matter is, and this goes back to the first little news bite. Video game preservation, man. Why were those games bad? Because the source code was lost.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's the same reason why all the new Kingdom Hearts stuff that keeps getting remastered, all that original source code is lost. They don't have it. So they have to rebuild these games. They have to rebuild that experience to the best of their ability. And
it's also the same reason why the Metroid Prime remaster was good, is because that source code wasn't lost. They were able to do the opposite of what GTA did and make something actually better, iterative.
I mean, it's a shame for me to say that I think that the remakes and remasters are bad, because there's a lot I haven't played. I haven't played any of the Final Fantasy games. I'd love to play a pixel remaster, but knowing that it's bad, I'll just play the original. I'll play the ROM.
There are fan hacks. Well, I have the cartridge upstairs, otherwise I'd show it off. Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster is kind of I mean, like, the way that they've done the text boxes and all that stuff, I just don't like the way that they've done the overall visual aesthetic. I think part of the charm of those games, and this is the thing, is Square is bad for this. They peddled a Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster vinyl set with the game. That sold out in like 20 seconds, and then they're printing the Pixel Remaster 1 through 6 on for Switch or whatever. Like that, like, you know, if I wanted to buy this, like the whole Pixel collection on Steam, it's over $100 for all those games. Me personally, I think the best way to experience those games is on original hardware. Again, the whole preservation thing, because like, even if there's like translation errors and translation mishaps on like Final Fantasy 6, for example, or 3, if you want to have it on the US SNES, it's an imperfect game, but I think the imperfections make it the perfect experience. It's better than what they have on the GBA version. Yeah,
like the GBA version of Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy III. Half the carts have a memory dump error where if you save a game in file 1, you can never save a game ever again, and it corrupts the first save file. I have a cartridge with that problem.
And my question is like, the people, I actually tend to agree with you guys saying it's bad. You know, you do have the few that are great. You know, I like the Crisis Core. Like, I think that's great. There was just a spider on my desk. I'm sorry. The Crisis Core remake was great. Spiders. Yeah, I know. Oh my God, it's huge.
Are you okay? Are you going to die?
No, it's fine. I literally saw it and I just hit it quick. It doesn't matter. The Metroid Prime remaster is great because, again, I think that's a way for Nintendo to quickly get a bunch of money quickly to help fund development costs of Prime 4. I'm pretty sure that's what that was for.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the time,
to buy time. Buy time as well.
Buy time and fill. Like, Crisis Core came out a year between the reunion, or sorry, the whatever it is coming out at the end of the year. More often than not, I find that the remakes and remasters are poorly optimized. Who the hell is playing them? Who is playing them? Who is testing them? Why are these games coming out really just poorly? Same thing with the GTA trilogy. I was excited to play Vice City again. I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to give that my money because that game's just a pile of garbage.
Yeah.
Sad.
And the problem is they delisted the originals too from Steam. So you can't get the originals. You're stuck buying that garbage.
No choice.
It's a shame because, like we said earlier, you can't get a lot of these games anymore. And with them feeding into your nostalgia, thinking, well, hey, Crash Bandicoot remastered, who wouldn't want that? I actually like that. That was a good remaster. It cleaned up everything, added modern textures, loved it. The Spyro trilogy, loved that too. That remaster was good, and they fed into my nostalgia. I don't want to play the ROM of that now because I have the better looking versions, but that's, again, the one-off to it. Look at the Tony Hawk games. They redid those. What did you guys say about that? I thought it was okay. It wasn't anything special.
Well. Yeah,
it was good, but it's skateboarding. It's Tony Hawk.
Yep.
I think there are differences in how they approach the remakes.
Soundtrack was gone.
Yeah, because
Soundtrack
the licensing.
gone. Because they couldn't get the licensing anymore.
I think with Crash, the remake trilogy was done to test the waters to see how much interest there was with Crash.
I can see that.
They did the same with Spyro. We haven't seen any more Spyro because I just don't think anybody cared about Spyro, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But Crash, like, was good enough. We got Crash 4, which is awesome. So Crash is trending in the right direction aside from this MOBA that I don't care about. But, you know, it's great.
Yeah.
Crash is back.
I forgot about that.
I know, it's forgettable. Nobody's going to buy it, and then they're going to get disappointed, and then we won't see Crash again because they've made a poor decision. Just give me the platforming. I don't care.
Yep. You know, let me ask you guys while we're kind of in this topic, is there like so for me there are these S tier remakes, remasters that I think are out there that for me I think they were necessary, or I just really love them and I think they did stuff with a lot of care and creativity. Final Fantasy VII Remake ranks up there for me as like, it's one of, I like that game experience even more than I like the original one, and I like the original one a lot.
But that's just not a remake. That's something else.
It is special. It is special. You know, I know I made this argument against The Last of Us and God of War, but I really like what they did with the Marvel Spider-Man game when they brought it to PS5.
Yeah.
By giving me the RTX, the shaders, and yeah, like I want to talk about, like, you know, give me my, how dare you not give me my full 120 frames per second, blah blah blah.
We'll give you my frames, man.
But they did that, and they brought it to PC, and they brought it to PC in a format that, like, you can make your screen as wide as you want to, and that's something that is special.
Crazy.
That I think for Spider-Man is very important as a character. It's something that was locked away that you couldn't do on your PS4. And then, like, my final holy grail of remakes and remasters, Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Nintendo.
I was about to ask your thoughts on that because they did a lot to modernize that.
They did.
Perfect example.
They changed physics. They changed the physics of Mario just slightly. Slightly, but enough to be noticeable. If you speed run either of those games on the original hardware and you try to come over to All-Stars, it doesn't work quite the same. But I think from a beautification perspective and making that game look timeless, because if you look at the age on Super Mario Bros. 1, Super Mario Bros. 2, Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES, there are very visible cracks, but they did the SNES era pixel art for the All-Stars remake and made that game extremely timeless to be able to go back to and not go, man, this game's ugly. Like,
exactly,
it's still pretty today.
Exactly.
Those are my go-tos. But are there like remakes, remasters that are like your go-tos to say, hey, like, these were creative, these were good, and I think these are better experiences, or at least on par experiences that I would recommend anybody play?
All Stars is great because it's convenient. You know, you get all those games, like, you know, everybody coming from the NES era. And then you got Lost Levels as well. And then it had, like, most of the physics were all the same. So you could play Mario 1, Lost Levels 2, and then 3. They were all the same, and you could play them all the same. Because, like, you know, 2 feels a little bit more floaty if you're playing it on the NES. Remake is 100%. Remake is not just, like, for those who haven't played, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but Remake is not just a remake. It's its own game, and it's
deviation.
It's a slight deviation. And if you know Kingdom Hearts and if you know Tetsuya Nomura, that game is kind of Nomura-fied. And I'm a little bit skeptical of where that's going, but it's its own thing. That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, 7 Remake, All Stars, like, those are really great bars for where it should be at. What do you guys think about Super Mario 3D All Stars? Where do you find that was a little bit of a cash grab because they're like, hey, this is only like limited time only thing, and then that's just going to get pulled from shelves, you know?
I think from a celebratory standpoint for Mario, I think it was a good move to be able to bring those things to Switch and almost unify the entire Switch catalog behind it to where you could get it and be able to play it. There are a couple of games on there that I think they actually did good things with. I actually just completed Super Mario Galaxy on the 3D All-Stars version of it because I was playing it on my Wii and I was too close to my monitor to use the sensor bar. So, like,
you used Joy-Cons with that?
Wiimote up here by my head, and I used Joy-Cons with it, and it was a much less clunky experience. That game's still very clunky after replaying it. I'm like, Galaxy, it's a little bit hard to play comparatively. It was very experimental, but Sunshine. The thing that people wanted to talk about the most when they brought Sunshine up is, it's now in widescreen. No, it wasn't. It wasn't in widescreen. The problem that they had with it is they cropped it. They cropped it in to make it look like it was in widescreen.
Mm-hmm.
They cut off assets that were previously in the video game. So they gave it that 16:9 format, but it didn't really help it or make it any better. It wasn't iterative or creative. And they ruined the controls in terms of the up down. Like they inverted the controls, what people were used to. So like you couldn't even play it the right way. And then I would also tell you, they did the Shindu version of Mario 64 on that. So that removed the ability to even speedrun on it if you wanted to. You couldn't do backwards long jump in that version.
Mm-hmm.
So, that being said, I would say ostensibly, with also the knowledge that later they released Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo Switch Online, that was a cash grab and a half.
Definitely.
Yep. But that plays into they don't want you to have the stuff. They want to drip feed it to you.
Exactly.
I would agree. KB, I noticed I asked Eric and I gave mine. Do you have any like remake that is like your go-to? This is the remake. I would tell you to play this instead of the original kind of experience, or at least on par with if you played this, you can skip the original.
Crash and Spyro, man.
Yeah.
Those are mine. Because they're the best done. You could even find Easter eggs from the original stuff in there. I mean, the only thing I wish they would have done different in those was make a mode where you could play how it looked. To give us low poly mode, That'd have been cool. Otherwise, it's solid. I
would agree with that. I would agree with that.
I do like how, to go to your thing with Sunshine, here's where I disagree. I like having the inverted controls because it makes it feel more modern, Up is up, not down is up. Like I'm not flying an airplane, I'm controlling a jetpack water hose.
I can agree with that.
I understand, but when you're standing right behind somebody, if you grabbed their hair and you pulled it down, their head would go up. Like that was the mindset that I always went with.
But like when you're playing games, you're playing. For instance, this is a good one because I went through it a couple months ago. I've played Ratchet and Clank for PS5. Those have modern controls. I went back and played Ratchet and Clank #1 on PS2, and I don't know how long it took for me to get used to that controller. I mean, I found out that you can like invert the stuff. They actually gave you an option back then, but a lot of games didn't. You were kind of stuck with that inverted look option, and I mean, I don't know. I like when they redo the control scheme, but I also don't like when they half-ass everything like all the other ones that we've had.
You got that beep button. You choose not to use it.
I don't know how to properly use it, man.
Don't worry about it.
I'll just put electrical tape over it so it blends in with the rest of the board.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm with you though. Like the now back on Sunshine, they did patch it later to make it to where you could choose one way or the other for the look inversion.
Nice.
So I appreciated that. I was able to use my GameCube controllers, but not quite the right way either. Like it went straight digital triggers, not analog triggers too.
Weird.
So like, again, there's a lot of things that are very important to the way that those games played, and they just were garbage. But like, if people truly support them, they do something great. They do something grand. Like I think it can be good for the business, but I still would argue objectively, I think it's bad for the video games industry as a whole. People get stuck in that rut of just remaking and turning into that remake machine. And that's what Capcom kind of has done, because the last Resident Evil was Village, and that came out, 3 years ago at this point?
Yeah.
So with that being said, let's head on over to a wrap up to continue this conversation, because we have a topic that bridges this that I think will be a great way to end the show. So, of course, in our topic, we talked about games that, are they game remakes? Are they good or bad for the industry? But I think that there's this also side topic that I know KB is going to have a field day with this. So I'm going to let you answer this one for us.
Oh, no.
What game should absolutely not be remade? So go ahead. Let's just acknowledge the elephant in the room. Which one should not be remade, or which one should not have been remade?
Well, The Last of Us. The Last of Us, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West, because I know Jim Ryan's sitting there in the corner going, you know what I mean? No. So like
Oh my God.
Those are mine. And like, here's the thing, man. With The Last of Us, everybody's like, oh, like all these children, man. I get off my lawn because they go, wow, imagine if they made this into a video game. Like there's serious kids out there who are under they don't know that it's a game. It is not a troll. It is not a meme. There are people out there, children out there that go, man, that'd be cool if it was a game.
That's
Get off my lawn,
ridiculous.
You infant. Like, go away. Like,
It's hilarious.
yeah, it's hilarious. It's also hilarious that some people don't, that some people don't know Robin Williams' best movie, Flubber, man, and we're
Flubber's great
to know that.
Flubber's real good. It's real good.
Eric, there's people out there that they didn't exist when Flubber was out. So how does that make you feel?
A lot of these are people. No, I'm not
Alive.
I'm not gonna.
Alive.
I'm not gonna say what I want to say because I don't think that would fly. I'll tell you off air. Cody, what's yours? The game should absolutely not be remade.
I think when I think about this question, I want to think about like the classics, right? Like there are some classics that I think should be left alone because they are perfect as is. One of those would be Golden Sun. I think Golden Sun should be left alone. It is perfect as is. It's beautiful. Just bring it to, if you're going to bring it anywhere, don't do anything. Just 1-to-1 port. Don't remake, don't remaster. Just bring it over.
I agree.
Let me play it. Like, put it on NSO. If I were to talk about a game that has been remastered that shouldn't have been, and I might upset one individual who's in this call right now, but I don't think Live Alive should have been remastered. No one knew what it was. Why? Why bring it? Like, no one knew what it was.
Back in.
He's back with a mad face. But I stand by that. Like, Live Alive, I don't think it deserved a remaster in comparison to something else that they could have focused their efforts on to bringing to us in a more modern HD 2D pixel art remaster kind of experience. That's not it. That ain't it.
Did you play it?
No, I'm not going to support that.
He refuses.
That's garbage.
He refuses to play it.
I will.
He only plays good games.
I will objectively say, try it before you deny it. I was on the fence with Live Alive. Like, why does anybody care about this Super Famicom game that never came to? Okay, fine, I'll give it a chance. I play it. Absolutely blew me away with every expectation that I didn't have or did have with the game. I think what Square's doing with the HD 2D stuff is really fantastic at the moment, and that leads into my answer here. I started playing Octopath 2 the other day because everybody I got a lot of comments on my YouTube channel like, oh, check out Octopath 2. So I've been playing that, capturing footage for that. I'll make a video about that next week. I didn't play Octopath 1, but I just love the visual aesthetic of what Square is going for, because Square is feeding into a little bit of that nostalgia, but they're also catering to that older crowd that wants the old school stuff when they can go and deviate what they want to do with Final Fantasy. One game that should absolutely not be remade, this one right here, Chrono Trigger. Don't touch it.
I almost said that and then changed my mind.
Don't touch it.
It's coming. It's coming. Don't worry.
Look, if they do the HD 2D remake, I will buy the collector's edition, whatever it is. But please don't touch it. As in, like,
don't change it.
Don't change
anything.
Don't change
Don't give
nothing.
me 2023 bull.
And this is the problem, because with the Chrono Trigger DS remake, they added some stupid thing at the end of the game that helped bridge the gap between Trigger and Cross. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't need to have that gap bridged. It just takes place at a different point in the timeline, or just a different universe or whatever. It's just, I don't know. Square, I don't want Square to ruin my Chrono Trigger, but I know they will.
It'll be fun. They'll make it. They'll add 2 more things to it, and then you'll throw it off the wall and then go, it's fine. It'll sit on my shelf. It's fine.
It's fine. I mean, you can play the Steam version of 4K, so if you got a 4K widescreen monitor, it'll play.
See, I mean, you know what I mean? Then why do you need a remake? Just make your own.
I know. Anyway, some good choices here. Good choices here.
Mm-hmm.
We are changing our show date as well, going forward. What about a Super Mario RPG remake or remake? Nintendo won't allow that. Nintendo is too boomerish to allow that. And there's some stuff in that game that probably wouldn't fly by Nintendo standards these days.
In a world where if they were to allow that, I think that game could benefit from a remake, because it is, the pixel art is not timeless in that game. It's not like
No.
they tried to emulate Donkey Kong Country in some ways. They like it doesn't hold up. So a remake of that one would be very beneficial for that game.
If they sharpened it up, like let me show you actually, because like some of the renders that they have in the manual are absolutely beautiful, and I would love to see some of these things like brought up to speed. Like look at this the world map here of like like imagine seeing
how nice that looks.
Like that looks really
reminds
great.
me of Link's Awakening remake.
Yeah, if they did it in that kind of engine, like I mean, this is just a rendering here of like the actual world map. Like that's beautiful. Imagine playing that game like that. So
do that. Bring it back.
Well, call up your Uncle Dougie and tell him you want.
All right.
the old frog fuses there. Pretty cool.
Hello, Uncle Douglas. It is me, Cody, your favorite nephew. I'm just calling a favor.
I love that. See, this is the first time that we saw Mario in 3D before Super Mario 64.
Yeah, because apparently, like, 6 months after that, the N64 came out.
Yep.
So that's
pretty much. This was a late life game. That's why it looks as good as it does, because they've figured it out. But speaking of late life, as our show ages, we are changing our show date. Starting after April 7th, we're going to be slotted at Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturday mornings here for me in Australia. No show on April 1st, not an April Fool's joke. We are accounting for time and date changes and stuff like that. So we'll be sure to keep you guys posted. I think the show will go on as normal next week, possibly, but there were some discussions about some things changing as well. So we'll keep you guys posted as best we can. So for all of our stuff, you can follow one of our Twitters or just get in the Discord or whatever. You guys will find us. We'll keep you up to date. I think it was a great show.
Me too. That's our show, everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're gonna flip over to the post show stuff. Thank you, audio listeners.
Don't forget
5-star, whatever.
Patreon. Don't forget to do the Patreon. Thank you again to these wonderful people here that support the show, that make the show going. Keep the show going. I've got pre-show stuff to upload from last week and then this week, which I'll do tomorrow. And then I've also got the Midnight Snack, which we'll be editing this week. So please look forward to some extra content. With that being said, KB, any final words?
With triple. Toe cut out, but I think he said, "Bring it. Don't forget your towel."
Something like that.